I've even got my own hop vine over in the trailer park now. And I got my elderberry bush, and I eat the berries off it. I don't make the wine, but Albert Lackey used to tell me stories about that. Down in Colebrook, part of Hubbardston was the village of Colebrook, down by Barry Falls Road and Brigham Road and in there. And the farms didn't make that money. Kind of hard to pay taxes and that. Well, I had 3 hotels in Colebrook, but Ocam was dry. So where could you get the stuff? When I went to Morgan Farm, one of the Morgans, I won't use names now, but during Prohibition had his own still made, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was that blue and white like the cooking kettles used to be. Oh gosh, with all copper tubing, and how well I know it because it was given to me. And when I moved either to Lunenburg or to Hardwick, I didn't get to take it. Boy, I wish I had that now. I've got my hop vine, and I got my elderberry bush, but got nothing to process it with. Of course, I suppose if I could get an old beat-up cider press, that would be just as good. I never knew about buying hard cider in my Hubbardston years. I know about it from other years, and I know about having to walk to the places that you could get shot at. That happened to me when I was in Hardwick. But in Hubbardston here, with Larry Smith and with Raymond Hatstat, young Raymond, I made my own hard cider. Right up on Ragged Hill Road when I rented Bill Wumpus's little house and lived there. Yeah, and boy, we had good hard cider. I'd get the cider from Ed Bemis, and it would be just as sweet and nice. Well, I had a refrigerator there without ice. Well, it didn't take long in that to make it nice and hot.
Oh, my father used to have a crock every once in a while. He didn't drink much, but he'd have a beer probably every day. But he had a crock behind the stove and then bottle it and put it down cellar. And I can remember going into a couple of houses and you could smell the brew behind the stove in the crocks. Yeah, it does smell out of the kitchens. When you go in the door, you can tell. And then, of course, there were some moonshine regular ones that had a business around a few. But which everybody knew about, but I guess nobody bothered him.
Oh, hard cider Mackie, yeah, Maury used to speak about him.
I remember Chet Maury down on Maury Road, across Route 62, out there, and he used to hide his hard stuff that he would make to keep it cool in the brook under the bridge going across. Well, the old drunks, they got acquainted with that, so they'd go down and steal it from him. So what he did then, he put it in the well across the road from his house, right directly across. There was the old well there. So he would put the hard stuff down in the well, and then when people came to get it, it was in sight, so nobody stole it from him.
Well, I can remember talking about goings-on around the stove, in the store, listening to guys say, hey, I went up Bemis Road today, and I say, things are going good. He said, the corn's squeezing, you can smell it. You could smell it driving by the house. You know.
Well, I remember when we used to plow snow with the old Holt snow plow, and we'd go out. We'd go down the Bemis Road, go past the Bemis place, we'd go out to the Cushman farm, and turn around and come back, and then Bemis had a driveway that would go up around the house and back down to the road the other side. We would drive up in the road toward the garage, which was on the end, stop the machine and go in, and Mrs. Bemis would have sandwiches and coffee for us. And I can always remember her saying, "Edward, don't you give those young fellows any of that hard stuff." Because they always would bring out the hard stuff for the
White
older
lightning
people.
or whatever, yeah.
When we'd get finished, then we would go around the house and back way. He had his driveway all plowed out for nothing, for just a few hard cider samples.
Well, I remember my father used to make a home brew, and once in a while he'd make a little whiskey on the side, you know. So every once in a while, the guy, the police, and the old Ford touring cars, they opened it with no side, no windows or anything on the side, just the top. Now, they'd come tearing down there. Had about 5 or 6 cops in the back with shotguns sticking out. If you ever watched The Untouchables, exactly like that, and old cars like that, and they'd come down trying to catch him with it, but they never did. They never did catch him actually making it. So, but they tried often.
This is the old dump at the farm here. I can see a lot of my toys that I had as a kid, I remember. And oh, what's this? Motorway radiator shell. Could it be? The black market. Us Kanguses, we were dairy farmers. We weren't involved in the black market that the chicken farmers were involved in. But my great-grandfather did make his own moonshine. In fact, these are some of his jugs.
Oh, yeah.
There was Ollie's,
Oldies.
Punterman's,
Maitland Hill had
Hills.
Maitland Hill's father had a chicken farm. Oh, everybody had some chickens, anyways.
Did Rassinens have chickens?
I think they did. I can't quite remember.
And then the cows, of course, there was Slade and
Rosinen.
Jalapeno. There were
Yeah.
a lot of farms, and then a lot of people just had 1 or 2 cows, you know, just for their own use. We'd be up on the street, and these big men in these Cadillacs, big cars, these
The
guys,
gangsters in there.
Gangsters with their derbies on. They'd be sitting there, probably deciding which farm they were going to next, and they brought out a lot of all the chickens from the farms.
Those chickens went to Campbell Soup.
Yeah, is that where they went?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they'd be sitting up in those fancy cars up on the street, and we'd be walking by, and
Of course, when the war ended, that was the end of that. Yeah, Hugo Pinton got rich that way, I remember. He had a farm down off Hale Road. That's where he was. He remember he's flashing his money, showing it off.
be careful, you'll be in
Well, no, there's no Pinton's around now.
Oh, really?
Except he's got a nephew who lives up the street, but I don't think he...
Be careful what you say.
Was that Hugo Pontiman and well, there was a lot of them. Mary Cantos, there was a lot of them around chicken farms here in town. Yeah. But they've all passed on now. Yep.
Now, they sold them twice what the government allowed.
But I remember when the people would come to pick up the chickens and everything, they'd have us kids. We'd put so many chickens in a crate, and we might have to carry it from the 2nd or 3rd floor down to put on the truck that was picking up the chickens. So the farmer had told us before, well, every time you go down with a load of chickens, take 1 or 2 out of the basket and throw in the pen downstairs. We'd do that, and they'd get all done, and the buyer would say, well, I'm loaded going, and the owner would say, well, I got some more chickens in this room down here. So they were getting paid twice for some of the chickens.
And we had Reverend Jaffa over here for dinner with his mom.
his wife, anyway, his family. And we're all sitting around the dining room table, and we hear this, and the Reverend asked, "Well, what was that?" And I guess
Dad said the rats are having a hove tent down
yeah,
cellar.
that's right.
All this time it was the home brew blowing up. Well, my dad sold corn and tomatoes in the fall, and he sold the plants in the spring. And he worked for Wainwright for years. And after work, many of the guys would follow him home from work and to buy plants. Many times he gave him a glass of homebrew. Well, this one time, my dad was working on a septic tank, and he had the lid pulled off and it was dragged over here in the field away from the tank. And he said, "Wally, what's with your septic tank lid? How come it's over here?" He says, "I've been flushing home brew down the toilet for years that we didn't drink, and one day she blew."
And that's the way it was.
We didn't have, I guess you couldn't call it a farm, but we had chickens. My father had a big garden up in the back of the house, and we had about probably 20-25 chickens. And during the Depression, we didn't even know that didn't have any money, because we had plenty of food. My father would raise enough food. Down in the cellar we had barrels with all kinds of vegetables. My mother canned all summer. And my father, well, he was laid off lots of times, but he was a great hunter, and he hunted and fished. We had a lot of game to eat, and he trapped, and he sent fur pelts to Hershkovitz Company in New York, and made quite a bit of money with his trapping, his fox pelts and skunk pelts and all of those. And he fished, and then they say chicken every Sunday. Many Sundays we had chicken. The old hens that stopped laying, you'd have chicken on Sunday. And
but we were poor in those days, and everybody else was poor, so we didn't realize it. Like she said, everybody lived out in the country, had a garden, and we weren't starving, but the poor people in the cities could get anything to eat. And there was no WPA or anything like that to feed them, so I don't know how they ever survived. But we were able to come through okay.